Think about the last time something in your house broke. Not a small thing, a real thing. The kind where someone had to come out, give you a number, you had to figure out where that money was coming from. And for a lot of people, that moment looks like this. There's the repair you just paid for, the one that took 2 weeks to schedule, disrupted your routine, and cost more than you expected. And somewhere in the middle of writing that check or handing over the card or moving money around to cover it, you think about the thing before it. Oh my God, I just did that. And now this? Here's what I want you to notice about that thought. The thing before it was 2 years ago. 2 years, 24 months. Somewhere in there, you assessed the damage. You paid it, you moved on, and in all the time in between, nothing happened. The house was quiet. The accounts were stable. Nothing was broken. And now something is. So the instinct is to connect the two as if they're part of the same problem, but they're not. They're two separate things, 2 years apart. They arrived at different times for completely unrelated reasons. The connection your brain made is real. The conclusion it drew is not. And here's what makes this particular pattern so costly. Those 2 years in between were not empty, they were an opportunity. This comes down to two moves: calculate a monthly number, pay it into a separate house reserve account automatically. That's it. Everything else is just understanding why. 24 months where you could have looked at the next thing, estimated when it was coming, put a small amount aside every month so that when it arrived, you were ready for it. Instead, the repair hit, you covered it, you exhaled, and you stopped thinking about the house until the next thing broke. That's the cycle: repair, recover, forget, repeat. And it's genuinely exhausting. Not because the house is a disaster, because you're solving the same problem over and over instead of getting ahead of it once. The version of this I see most often starts in the same place. Someone experiences a big repair. Maybe it came fast, maybe it was expected, maybe it drained the savings or landed on the home equity line or went on a card. And then someone, usually me, says, okay, now, let's look at what else might be coming. Let's figure out a monthly number and start building towards it. And for a moment, there's real engagement. We look at the list: roof, HVAC, water heater, electrical panel, appliances. And then we start adding it up. Roof at $13,000, HVAC at 9, water heater at 2, panel at 6, refrigerator, washer, dryer, and somewhere around the fourth or fifth item, it shuts down. The number is just too big and the math feels impossible. And so the spreadsheet closes. And this is the part where everyone becomes allergic to math. I've watched this happen more times than I can count. The instinct to plan gets defeated by the sheer weight of looking at the full picture at once. But here's what that reaction's actually doing: it's looking at the bulk price. $40,000 in total system replacements spread across the next 15 years reads as $40,000. And $40,000 is overwhelming. $40,000 in a single column is a catastrophe. But $40,000 spread across 15 years is $220 a month. That's a cell phone bill, not a catastrophe. The total isn't the number you're managing, the monthly contribution is. And this is a real shift in how to look at it. Because every time someone closes that spreadsheet in defeat, they're reacting to the wrong number. They're staring at the aggregate cost of a 20-year asset's operating expense and treating it like a bill that arrived today. It didn't arrive today. It's spread across hundreds of months. Break it down, and the number becomes something you can actually do something with. Let me walk you through how the math actually works. Take a house with five major systems. Keep it simple, use round numbers. $15,000 to replace. 20-year lifespan, that's $750 a year, $63 a month. HVAC, $9,000. 15-year lifespan, $600 a year, $50 a month. Water heater, $2,000, 10-year lifespan, $200 a year, $17 a month. Electrical panels, $6,000, 30-year lifespan, $200 a year, $17 a month. Refrigerator, $1,200, 12-year lifespan, $100 a year, $8.50 per month. Add those five systems together, that's $155 a month, not $40,000, not a crisis, $155 a month. And I'll tell you the reaction I always get when that number lands. That's it? Yes, that's it. Compressed into a series of crises, the same replacement costs feel like a catastrophe. Spread across time and contributed to monthly, they're manageable operating expense. Same house, same systems, same eventual replacements, completely different financial experience. The math doesn't change. The relationship to it does. Now, here's where most people stop. They do the calculation, they nod, they think, that makes sense. Then they close the tab and do nothing because the math alone changes nothing. The behavior is what changes the experience. And the behavior problem is specific. It's not that most people don't want to save, most people are trying to save. The problem is where the money lives. See, here's what typically happens. Someone has a checking account, they have a savings account. Everything flows into both. Bills come out of the checking, the rest moves to savings when there's something left. And then something comes up. Could be the house, could be the car, could be life. They go into the savings to cover it, which means savings is doing two jobs. It's supposed to be the emergency cushion. It's also functioning as the overflow account for every expense that doesn't fit into checking. The result is an endless cycle. You save until something forces you to unsave. The balance goes up, it comes down. It never builds into anything sturdy. You can't budget for the house if you haven't budgeted for your life first. The fix isn't more discipline. The fix is separation. You open a dedicated account, not your emergency fund, not your checking account, a separate account specifically for house reserves. And then you automate a contribution into it every month. The number you calculated or a round number close to it, whatever you can start with. It leaves your checking account the same way your insurance does, the same way your utilities do. Automatically on a schedule without a decision being made every month. And then you don't touch it. You don't look at it. It doesn't exist until you need it. That's the whole model. Because here's what the separate account does that the savings account cannot. It removes the decision making from the moment of crisis. When the water heater goes, you're not calculating whether you can afford to fix it. You're not moving money around. You're not going to the equity line. The money is already there. It was always going there. $155 a month, quietly accumulating, waiting for exactly this. And the thing about this that consistently surprises people is the emotional difference, not the financial one. The emotional one. When the replacement comes out and the money's waiting for it, the experience changes completely. Sure, it's inconvenient. It disrupts your week. The tech is still coming, but it's not destabilizing. It's a scheduled expense that arrived and money was waiting for it. That's what the reserve account actually delivers, not just money, calm. Now, I know some of you watching this are not starting from zero. You just came out of something. The repair happened. The savings took a hit. Maybe it went on the equity line, maybe it went on a card. And now you're sitting here thinking, this framework makes sense, but I'm not starting from a clean slate. I'm starting from behind. Breathe. Here's what you actually do. You don't wait until the debt is gone to start the reserves. You do both at the same time. First question is not what should I contribute? First question is what can I contribute? Maybe that's $50 a month right now. Maybe it's 75. It doesn't matter if it's not the full number yet. What matters is that the account exists and the habit exists, because both of these are worth something before the math is perfect. You retire the debt methodically, you fund the reserve at whatever level you can. And as the debt comes down, the contribution goes up. That's the plan. Not clean, but functional. And functional beats perfect every time. Now, there is one answer to what can I contribute that deserves a different conversation. And that answer is if it's nothing. If the honest answer is genuinely nothing, not because of the debt, not because of a rough month, but because the mortgage is already at the limit of what the income can hold, well, that answer is telling you something. It might mean the monthly payment got all the attention at closing and the full cost of the house didn't. And that's an entirely different conversation. And it's one worth having, just not here. Now, for landlords, this compounds in a way that can make or break the performance of a property. When you look at the rent roll every month, the numbers can look healthy. Cash flow appears solid. The property seems like it's doing what it should. But if there's no reserve account, what you're actually seeing is income without a liability attached. The systems are aging whether the reserve exists or not. The replacement cost is accruing whether you're tracking it or not. The only difference is whether money is waiting when the cost comes due. A property with a funded reserve isn't just better managed. It's a fundamentally different financial object than one without. So here's what this actually looks like to start. You don't need a perfect number. You don't need to account for every system before you begin. You need three things: a list of your major systems and their approximate ages, a rough estimate of what each costs to replace, and a separate account. From those three things, you can calculate a starting monthly contribution. Not the perfect number, a starting number. Automate it. Don't think about it. Revisit it once a year. That's the entire system. And if you want to do the math without building a spreadsheet from scratch, there's a tool at getcapsa.com built specifically for this. CAPSA is the engine behind the math. It works through the calculation and gives you a monthly number. No guessing required. But the tool is secondary. The shift is primary. The shift is understanding that the bulk price is not the number you're managing, the contribution is, and that the account only works if it lives somewhere separate, somewhere it doesn't get touched, somewhere it doesn't exist until it needs to. The people who own property without this are not bad with money. They were handed a payment at closing. Nobody handed them the operating structure that came with it. Now you have it. If this changed how you're thinking about the house, share it with somebody who just came out of a repair and is still in recovery mode. Because the window right after a major expense is actually the best moment to start this. The reality of the cost is still fresh. Motivation is there. Drop a comment with your monthly number. Run the calculation. Write it down. Even a rough one. I want to see where people land. Subscribe if you want to keep going with this. This channel is for people who are done finding out the hard way what the house actually costs.